What is going on, guys? Counterful here with my ref rant. As you saw in my Monday video, I kind of said at the end of it that the referees need to be ranted about, and they do now after this Seattle Green Bay game. I'm doing this about an hour or so after the original game, so I'm a little bit quiet here. This is about 1, 2 in the morning. I don't want to be super loud, so it's kind of be just a chill type of voice for me. As it sounds like usual, I don't, sometimes it sounds like to me I'm got a monotone voice. I don't know. But the referees need to be spoken about. There's been a lot of, I don't know how to pronounce, I don't know what word to best describe it, but you can maybe hear in the background the press conference of Aaron Rodgers. I kind of laughed when he says, we got to kick a ball into 2-point conversion. People need to just understand that one play, you lost in one play like that. But you know what? There's other plays in that game that changed the game completely. Getting sacked 9 times in the first half isn't going to win you the game. I don't care what you can say, we lost. The Packers fans will be, we lost on the one play. As a Bills fan, we've lost on one play. Last year, the Jets game, Stevie drops a ball. Who'd I blame it on? At first I'm like, it's Stevie's fault, but I looked at it. There's other plays involved that made us lose. It's just not one play that changes the game. Every play changes the game. So this, for the Packers fans, I understand you're mad you lost a game like that. I would have been too, especially since the play shouldn't even count with that pass interference. But you know what? Blame the NFL. Don't blame the referees. They're out there to make the call. They're not experienced referees. They come from Division II, Pee Wee, Canadian Football League, the AFL. They all have refereeing experience, but there's different rules in every place they refereed. So people need to understand. You just can't be like, these replay refs are ass. Yes, they are. They have experience, though. They're not experienced NFL officials, so you have to blame the NFL. I don't care if you disagree with me or not. You blame it on the owners. The owners are the one that locked out the referees. They refused to pay the referees. But on the retrospect, the referees are asking for a little bit of too money, but this shows how much the referees mean to the league. So, after this atrocious week of blown calls, missed calls, controversial calls, whatever you want to call them, the refs need to be back. I don't care if you have to overpay them or something. They mean so much to the games. They change games. They keep players safe. If the NFL is so bound on trying to make the league more safer, pay the refs. Darius Hayward-Bay knocked out cold a second after he got hit in the helmet. Matt Schaub gets hit in the head, loses a little bit piece of his ear. There's some other hits I might not mention, but if you're so afraid of seeing, players getting concussions, the refs mean so much to that because they know how to call it. And these defensive players those refs know what they're doing. Now these defensive players come on the field and thinking, these refs don't know what they're doing. I can get away with some stuff. And they did. There's some calls getting blown because first off, these referees don't experience in the NFL. They know the basic calls, holding on false starts, offsides. But NFL has a unique rule set compared to the AFL, the CFL, the college game. And the closest thing to it is the Division I teams, and they can't take those referees. I don't know. I just know that there was no referees from there. I don't know why it is. I think it's maybe an agreement between them both. It's very redundant. I mean, if you don't know what redundant means, it repeats itself. I'm actually being redundant. That's what I meant to say. People have to understand this is not the ref's fault. They're making a paycheck to support and survive. They're reffing a game. They're doing the best they can with limited time they had. Yes, they did training in that. The training helped them, but they're not the NFL refs. They're not the ones with 30 years experience in the NFL training every year for these games. They have game experience. They know when to make a call. They got chemistry with their refereeing groups. These referee groups, they meet in the beginning of the week. And with the replacement refs, there's so many new faces that people don't know who that. I don't know who you are. I've never worked with you before. It's a whole chemistry thing with the refs. It's a whole experience thing. And the replacement refs lack that. So there's been some calls they made that I don't think the real refs would have made and would have been wrong on it, and they were right. They're making the calls, but they're losing control of games because players are not using their heads. They're thinking, all right, these referees are going to be lenient. They're not going to, they're not going to call some things that these real refs are going to call. And they do it. It's a smart thing to do. It's a little loophole into the game that you can get away with the holding call if they can disguise it, because these replacement refs don't realize how everything works in these rule books. They don't have time to study them. They got to train with, it's a big domino effect. Or new replacement refs got to learn the rules. Got to learn your referees that you're working with. You got players trying to break the rules. Players trying to get loophole through the rules. It's a big challenge for these replacement refs. I wouldn't want to be a referee, because you become a scapegoat half the time. You get criticized on TV. It happens. These referees have experience with that. These referees don't. It's just NFL, I think, is handling is really bad. And coming off week 3, if these refs aren't any closer to signing, it's gonna get worse. They're telling these refs, hey, don't be afraid to, throw a flag or two. Almost 30 penalties in the Seattle-Green Bay game. New England and Ravens game, there were skirmishes every drive. It's out of hand. These players are. My Skype just went off. Yeah, that was Skype. But we're going back. It's the players. The players can take advantage of this. They're gonna do that. But you need to understand these players. How do I explain this? I'm trying to think. The players, like I said, are taking advantage of this opportunity because these referees don't know everything, and they don't know how referees call games. NFL needs to make these refs come back. It's so mind-boggling on how far this is going to go. How far are they going to take it? We're 3 weeks in. There's been great football played. Of course, there's been blow calls, but the NFL's got to bring these refs back. I know I keep repeating myself. I'm trying to keep losing my train of thought watching the TV, but the players also need to take a. I'm stumbling right here, but players need to take responsibility too, because you know what? They're trying to cheat the system. It is what you can say. I don't describe it even more clear, but they're trying to cheat the system, and they need to realize these guys are new. It's kind of I understand why they do this, but you know what? They need to take responsibility too. It might sound stupid to you, but if they're worried about their health, why? Don't forget about that. Worry about that, but there's the players also, like I said, need to take responsibility. They're doing their loopholes. They're taking advantage of these referees, which I understand, but I think it's gone too far. Especially seeing these helmet-to-helmet collisions, they know it's illegal to do that, but they know these referees might not call it compared to the real refs, and they need to understand that they're going to get fined for that. But you know what? It's not going to cause a penalty for 15 yards because you know what? They're making 21,000 on these game checks and that. They're making millions. They don't care if they're losing that much money on a helmet-to-helmet fine. If it doesn't get 15-yard penalty, they don't care because you know what? It makes them drop the ball. And they're going with this catch. That play action, he knew, the refs might not call it, so he took that chance at the end of the game, and look what it did. It won him the game. Actually, I just listened to Scott Van Pelt on ESPN. I'm trying to watch this and everything. He said the replay guys, I meant to say, are the original guys. You could put them at fault for this too. There's so many variables involved in this replacement referees. I don't think they deserve most of the blame. Maybe 15 to 20% of the blame, but 80% goes to these guys who've been in the league for years and who handle it. It's very disheartening just to see this. We're seeing the greatest football we've seen in years, but yet there's calls that are changing game, which happens. It happens with the real refs. There's also calls getting blown. There was a personal foul in the Tennessee Titans game that put them in field goal range. They need the real refs back. That's what they need. I don't want to blame these replacement refs at all. They're just in there doing the job, trying to make the game fair. They don't know what they're doing. They don't have the experience in the NFL. Experience is going to beat over, resume. Oh, you got 31 experience in Division II. But, we have guys with 36 years experience in the NFL. It's getting out of hand. Like I said, if I'm the players, I start calling the league office. I really think that's the ultimatum at this point. They have the case on their side. The players are like, you know what? They're blowing calls that are changing games. More than usual, I should say. There's calls getting made that change games no matter what. But we're seeing more than ever in offsides, holding, false start. We're seeing a bigger amount of penalties in games. Like I said in the Green Bay Seahawks game, almost 30 penalties. The people down in the NFL league offices are like saying, throw penalties, they will stop. They're not going to stop. These are replacement refs. Like I said, the players will take advantage of them. They're not afraid to do that. Like I said, they're making millions. They can take that fine. They can take, the hate for it. They'll do it to win the game, which I understand, but it's very hard to explain that. I don't know. It's very, as a fan of football, ever since I was really young, I've hated refs. Refs blowing calls every game. Every game there'll be a blown call. They'll be like, that didn't make sense, but you lived with it. But seeing these replacement refs, it's very, I don't know. It doesn't make the games enjoyable because you know what? There's gonna be more commercials than ever. You're seeing 30 flags a game. You're seeing challenges every other play because these refs are making mistakes. Games are lasting an hour and a half longer. Like, how many overtime games? There were 3 overtime games. None in the Miami Jets game. There was no blown calls. Lions and Titans. There's a couple blown calls. That game went on till 5 o'clock. That's a 4-hour game. That goes over. Games are supposed to end around 4. That went almost an hour and a half longer than it's supposed to. Games are lasting longer because of it. There's so much an effect of how much these refs mean to the game, and now I'm realizing this now. I'm only 18. There's some people who are 30 and saw how refs evolved in that. They mean too much to this game. They mean too much to player safety. They mean too much to how games end. They're needed as much as a quarterback. Well, I don't. That was a pretty stupid analogy, actually. But they're a big part of keeping this game's integrity. And they're not throwing 30 flags a game. They're not blowing calls, like 3 or 4 calls a game. That pass interference in the Green Bay Seahawks game on Sam Shields, that was on Sidney Rice. They didn't call one on Golden Tate in the Hail Mary pass, which won him the game. I'm 100% on board with just getting these refs back. I don't care how much you pay them. You're in the NFL. You're making billions. You're the biggest sport in North America, and it's a growing sport. And this does not make your image look good. Social media now. There's social media, Twitter, Facebook. I went on my Twitter and Facebook. That's all I saw about refs. For people I know don't watch football every week. And it's going to have a negative effect when people overseas are seeing this football game like, oh, they made a bad call, that's a bad call, these are real referees. They're going to start thinking, the refs not being there is a big effect. And more than the game, inside the game, but outside the game, growing the game. They keep the integrity of the game. They keep players safe. They keep games as fair as possible. And these replacement refs aren't. I know I've been rambling on. It's almost 20 minutes. I knew I was going to go on this for long. I knew I was going to go on for this long. I'm just, it's like 1 o'clock in the morning. So I'm trying to process this, and this is terribly handed. We're about to be in week 4. If I don't see the rest by week 6, I don't know how the season's gonna go. It's a very scary situation, because after seeing these, disgusting hits on players, Joe May's coming up and just obliterating Schaub, and he's losing a chunk of his ear. Darius Howard-Bagan knocked out cold while in midair and being driven to the hospital. You don't want to see that. And this is on the league and how they're negotiating with the owners. I'm surprised an owner like Jerry Jones or something has spoken up about these refs. The owners aren't going to speak up about them. But you know how you're going to get these owners back? The players need to step up and call the league office and go to their owners. The coaches need to go to owners and be like, I can't handle this anymore. You got to get something done, or they could protest. There's a possibility they could just be like, you know what, I'm not going to go to the game. I'm not going to play. That is a realistic possibility. It might sound stupid, but if it gets to the point where there's players getting seriously injured and games getting completely blown, the teams don't even want to come to the field. Green Bay didn't even want to come for the extra point. They almost protested that game, and that game would have never officially ended. Something needs to be done, and they need to start realizing they need to get kicked in gear and realize how bad the situation's growing. The refs mean too much at this point, and I'm figuring this out right now. After watching this game and seeing this whole week just showed me they mean too much. I hate them, but you know what? They make games fairer than how it is right now. It sucks to see a game like Green Bay and the Seahawks lose like that. End like that. I hate seeing the Bills lose a game. I always end up blaming the refs or something, but you know what? It happens. And we need like I said, we need the refs back. We need them now. I don't care if you don't want to pay them. You need to pay them. They mean too much to this business that is growing in overseas. You're seeing more football overseas than ever before, and you just need to. These owners need to step up and be like, okay, we're seeing people who could possibly get seriously injured. We're seeing us lose games. We need to step up and we need to take initiative and get these refs back. They need to understand that, and that players and coaches need to step up. They need to speak their mind. Like TJ Lang, the guard for the Packers, got on Twitter right after the game, and he ranted. Brandon Spikes kind of slandered the refs. It's you're gonna see that, and the NFL's got to realize this is a serious problem, and it needs to be fixed now. These refs need to be back now. It's ruining the integrity of the game. It's becoming a it's hard to explain, but just on a last note, don't blame the replacement refs completely. You're gonna have to blame the owners, blame whoever's negotiating with these refs. They need to get something done. This is on their hands. This is them. They think they can get through a season with replacement refs, all to them. But you know what? You're gonna have a lot of angry players and coaches and fans, and they don't want that because they won't make money off of that. And you're gonna